Hi, this is a reflection on Isaiah 30:21. Isaiah 30:21 says it's God speaking through the prophet to his people. And he says, whether you turn to the left or to the right, you will hear a voice behind you say, "This is the way, walk in it." Now, what is so extraordinary about this is all the verses before this chapter, primarily is God warning a rebellious people. He's speaking to them of a heart that turns away from God, even explicitly. They reject the word of the prophets and say, "Do not prophesy what is right to us anymore." And they go to the enemy land and they give themselves to the spirit and the place of the enemy. And God is angry, and through the prophet he is pointing out this rebellion, and he is speaking of his discipline and his anger at this sin. But then we see this extraordinary compassion of God, and this captures the essence of God in all of the scriptures. We see him say in verse 19, he says, "But I will have such mercy on you when you cry to me." So we see a relational God. He is disciplining his people because of their rebellion, but he longs to hear them cry. One cry to God, and he says, "I will hear you." And he said, although I give you the bread of adversity, the water of affliction. Now this is discipline. He says, I will have compassion on you, and you will hear the teachers again. So this voice of truth that teaching brings us, to really hear the teaching, not for it to go past us, but to hear it. For the words of God and the teaching of God to land on our mind and our soul is a blessing of God. And he says, although I've given you hardship, you will hear the teaching again. You will hear the truth again. And then he goes on to say, we see such compassion, even if you turn to the left or the right, you will hear my voice behind you say, "This is the way." Now, what we see a God, he's angry at the people for turning left or right. But then we see that God's compassion, it just cannot be stopped. Even though he's angry and he has discipline for his people, at the end of the day, his love comes through his anger and is stronger than his anger. As it says in the New Testament, mercy triumphs over judgment. And it says in 1 John 4:19, we love him because he first loved us. And here we see a picture of that. God is angry at the sin, but his compassion still overtakes his anger. And with one cry, verse 19, with one cry, God is quick to save us. And so maybe you're in a place. I have been in places where my rebellion, my sin is the issue. But I have still heard God's mercy, and I've cried to him, and he has come to rescue me. And his love inspires us. His rescue inspires us then, we see in verse 22, to reject our idols. We tear them down because now Psalm 37:4 says, "Taste and see that God is good." When we cry to God and he rushes to save us, we taste his goodness. And this goodness inspires us to do away with our idols. The compassion of God is far beyond our minds. Cry to him. Cry out to him today. God is such that his love is such that he finally stepped down from heaven became one of us and took a beating and a death for us. And because of this overwhelming love, we see light again. And that is our pathway into heaven. This is the way. The voice and the love of God. This is the way. Walk in it. God bless you.